Philippine fried chicken giant Jollibee buys South Korea's Compose Coffee. Online shopping warehouses are creating new American boomtowns. Philippine fried chicken giant Jollibee buys South Korea's Compose Coffee. Online shopping warehouses are creating new American boomtowns. A new Trump Tower is coming to Saudi Arabia in 2028. Kim Jong-un says economy is on upturn as Russian ties deepen. The conversation comments as Russia has become so economically isolated that China could order the end of war in Ukraine. The Guardian comments as, when power shifts, so does the money. Megadonors fill labor's coffers. Zelensky says Russian casualties 6 times larger than those of Ukraine. NATO to Trump-proof Ukraine aid. After Biden's weak debate performance with $40 billion annual financial pledge and new post in Kyiv, Finland granted the United States access to military bases. Supreme Court impeachment plan released by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Biden warns Supreme Court presidential immunity ruling is dangerous precedent. The Nation comments as the president can now assassinate you officially, and Huffington Post comments as Supreme Court gives Joe Biden the legal okay to assassinate Donald Trump. Trump has some immunity in D.C. election interference case, Supreme Court rules. 2 of Donald Trump's golf course liquor licenses not renewed. Trump seeks to toss New York felony conviction after immunity win, and Supreme Court rules former presidents have broad immunity, dimming chance of a pre-election Trump trial. Trump amplifies calls to jail top elected officials, invokes military tribunals, and Liz Cheney fires back at Trump after he calls for televised military tribunals for former congresswoman. Ahead of election, Venezuela's Maduro says he has agreed to resume negotiations with United States. 39 died, over 350 injured in Kenya's anti-tax protests. Reportedly, China's young people are revenge saving, even as Gen Zers around the world are piling up debt. In the UK, almost 1.8 million people owe £50,000 or more in student debt. In Germany, shoplifters steal goods worth €4.1 billion. Apple reclassifies iPhone X, HomePod, and original AirPods as vintage. MacBook owners with faulty butterfly keyboards to get payouts soon. Fortnite and Epic Games Store submitted to Apple for launch in the EU. Chinese auto brands to surge to 33% of global market, report says. Suzuki Swift Sport given another 18 months to live, succession plans unclear. Audi is adding ChatGPT into existing cars going back to 2021, more going forward. 4 of 5 Huawei AI chips defective, as U.S. sanctions bite. China issues rare earth regulations to further protect domestic supply. India closing the gap in smartphone exports as China, Vietnam slows down. 2 corporate executives kidnapped, murdered in Philippines, and China urges severe punishment for killers of citizen in Philippines. Russia imposes entry ban on 99 Canadians. U.S. troops arrive in Chiapas to train Mexican armed forces. Korea to launch population ministry to address low birth rates, aging population. Swedes take a new step in parental leave. Grandparents can now get paid to take care of grandkids. More China provinces to cover IVF in effort to boost births. EU says Instagram's paid ad-free option breaches rules. Nvidia to face antitrust charges in France that could result in major fines, sources say. 3 million iOS and macOS apps were exposed to potent supply chain attacks. EFF comments as, hack of age verification company shows privacy danger of social media laws. Bots compose 42% of overall web traffic, nearly 2/3 are malicious. Bot-like accounts spreading hate during UK election, announces an NGO. New Satan stealer malware steals browser cookies and passwords. Critical OpenSSH vulnerability threatens millions of Linux systems. Prudential Financial now says 2.5 million impacted by data breach. Police arrested a man they say shot a Walmart drone. Armed Americans could pose a headache for air deliveries. Chinese woman facing charge of trying to smuggle turtles across Vermont Lake to Canada. Metal Gear Solid movie script still being worked on, producer says. Sega's new Crazy Taxi reboot will be an open-world MMO. Nintendo says it wants to avoid Switch 2 scalping by making enough to meet demand. Revenue from game subscriptions like Xbox Game Pass has barely grown in 2 years, potentially explaining Microsoft studio closures. Google invests in BlackRock-backed Taiwanese solar developer to boost energy capacity amid AI boom. Google's AI search summaries use 10x more energy than just doing a normal Google search. Meta changes its made with AI labels after backlash from users over accuracy. Chinese private spaceflight company accidentally launches reusable rocket into the side of a mountain. Japan successfully launches an advanced Earth observation satellite on its new flagship H3 rocket. CERN's Atlas experiment releases 65 terabytes of open data for research. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman anticipates GPT-5 as a significant leap forward over GPT-4, which occasionally goes off the rails with mistakes even a 6-year-old wouldn't make. YouTube now lets you request removal of AI-generated content that simulates your face or voice. China-led resolution on artificial intelligence passes in United Nations General Assembly. In the U.S., state social media laws aimed at protecting conservative users remain blocked, Supreme Court says. In Spain, adults who want to access porn sites must have a 30-access digital card valid for 30 days. In Argentina, government proposes lowering age of criminal responsibility from 16 to 13. 3 former executives of Outcome Health, a Chicago-based health technology startup company, were sentenced for their roles in a fraud scheme that targeted the company's clients, lenders, and investors and involved approximately $1 billion in fraudulently obtained funds. Under pressure on plane safety, Boeing is buying stressed supplier Spirit for $4.7 billion. Cryptocurrencies granted legal status in Turkey under new crypto law. U.S. Marshals Service announces partnership with Coinbase to manage and dispose cryptocurrencies. In Ethereum hodling, 78% of supply locked in diamond hands. Nvidia soars 2,782% in 5 years, outshining Bitcoin and Ethereum. Token merger of SingularityNet, Fetch.ai, and Ocean Protocol goes live. Orban allies announce right-wing Patriots for Europe alliance, as Austrian far-right, Hungary's Orban form new EU alliance. Portugal's far-right joins Viktor Orban's Patriots for Europe alliance. Jean-Luc Mélenchon will not be PM if left-wing alliance wins majority. Greens candidate says the conversation comments as, the far-right has surged to the lead in France's elections. But forming a government remains a tall order. India is slowly but surely climbing its way to the top as a medical tourist destination, say experts. Wildfires hit 600,000 hectares in eastern Russia, and Russia declares state of emergency in 2 regions due to forest fires. Israel to begin offensive in Lebanon later in July report. Recently Iran's UN mission threatens obliterating war if Israel launches Lebanon offensive, and Blinken says, Israel effectively lost sovereignty in north due to Hezbollah and nobody wants war in southern Lebanon, Blinken says. Lawsuit accuses Iran, Syria and North Korea of providing support for Hamas' October 7 attack on Israel. Estonia says it could hold out against a Russian attack for a couple of weeks before NATO arrives. Hungarian PM says he arrives in Kiev to help resolve conflict in Ukraine. Ukraine is releasing thousands of prisoners so they can join the fight against Russia, and U.S. doesn't see Ukraine in NATO today, Zelensky says. Hurricane Beryl strengthens to Category 5 storm as it flattens island in Grenada. Storms bring heavy rains, flash flooding, water rescues to parts of Kansas City metro. Climate projections show fewer opportunities for prescribed fires. German court convicts far-right politician Björn Höcke for using Nazi slogan. Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally Party leads in first round of French election, and violent protest against far-right National Rally erupt in Paris, as Macron urges tactical voting. Twice as many Britons want tax rises as want cuts, survey finds. India develops one of the most powerful non-nuclear bombs, 2x lethal than TNT. Lithuania plans to withdraw from Convention on Cluster Munitions. German weapons exports on course to hit new record. Netanyahu says Israel advancing to end of the stage of eliminating Hamas army in Gaza. Lufthansa halts night flights to and from Beirut due to Middle East situation. IDF destroys kilometer-long terror tunnel in central Gaza. Bombs a mosque used to store arms. Saudi Arabia announces discovery of 7 oil, gas deposits, and OPEC Plus countries extend voluntary oil output cuts by 2.2 million barrel per day for Q3. Kazakhstan eyeing nuclear power as alternative to coal, announces Kazenergy 1 month ago. Kazakhstan contemplates $10 to $12 nuclear power plant amid energy strategy overhaul. Federal judge blocks Biden's pause on LNG export permits. China's Velvet Ant hackers caught exploiting new zero-day exploit in Cisco devices. Indian software firms' products hacked to spread data-stealing malware. New OpenSSH vulnerability could lead to RCE as root on Linux systems. Caparat spyware disguised as popular apps threatens Android users. Juniper Networks flings out emergency patches for Perfect 10 router vulnerability. Patelco Credit Union ransomware attack halts banking services for nearly 500,000 members. Pakistani court sentences Christian man to death for posting hateful content against Muslims. No Muslim representation in India's cabinet as Modi starts third term, and it had been commented as Muslims in India continue to be targeted by emboldened mobs under Modi 3.0. Singapore prepared to recognize Palestine if it renounces terrorism and accepts Israel. Blackpink star Lisa pays Chinatown shopkeepers $540 each to shut street for video shoot. Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan to be honored with Locarno Film Festival Career Award. 15-year-old known as God's influencer, to be first millennial saint after Pope approves canonization. Firms from Middle East, Europe are eyeing Hong Kong IPO thanks to cross-border schemes, claimed UBS. Bloomberg comments as UK becomes safe haven for investors spooked by France chaos. China launches rail service with Europe via Russia. Donald Trump challenges hush money conviction hours after immunity ruling. House Republicans sue Attorney General Garland for access to audio from Biden's interview with special counsel Her. John Dean says Nixon would have survived Watergate under immunity ruling. SCMP comments as Russia and North Korea pact dooms U.S. hopes of Indo-Pacific dominance, as deepening Russia and North Korea ties test U.S. and South Korea deterrence strategy. The Taliban tell the West to look past harsh edicts on Afghan women and girls and build ties. China, Australia donate buildings, airstrips in Pacific influence race. Tesla deliveries set to fall for second straight quarter. China's BYD posts 21% jump in quarterly EV sales, closes gap with Tesla. In Brazil, Indiana, a letter to Lula. Car manufacturers speak of the uncontrolled entry of Chinese cars and ask for import barriers. Hunter Biden sues Fox News over explicit images featured in a streaming series. Netflix's Ancient Apocalypse scraps U.S. filming plans after outcry from Native American groups. In Japan, solo wedding trend captures glam photos, no partner required. Crypto-friendly Silvergate Bank pays $63 million to settle charges with SEC, Fed, California regulator. Roaring Kitty lawsuit over GameStop is withdrawn for now. Recently, Roaring Kitty's favorite meme stocks are tanking as the trader faces securities fraud claims over past social media posts. Hackers stole $176.2 million in crypto in June. Circle snags first stablecoin license under EU's new MiCA crypto rules. Crypto custody firm Anchorage offers investment returns through deal with Cumberland-backed Hashnote. Sony gets ready to launch crypto exchange in Japan with acquired Amber platform. After the Ice Age, people returned to the Swabian Jura 3,000 years earlier than previously thought. Archaeologists discover City of the Dead, housing thousands of mummies. Study finds 1/3 of Indonesia's deforested land left idle. Bloomberg comments as replacing Joe Biden is a fantasy Democrats must abandon. Republicans advance contempt charges against Biden's ghostwriter for refusing to turn over records. North Korea's Kim Jong-un badges worn by officials in public for the first time. Nigel Farage speech interrupted as, led by donkeys protesters lower in Vladimir Putin banner. Trump says he'll accept 2024 results if they're fair and legal, while airing false 2020 fraud claims. France votes in election that could hand power to far right. Reuters reports that firm making car that Putin gifted to Kim uses South Korean parts. Toyota GR86 to finally get turbo while cutting ties with Subaru. Ford CEO says a profitable $30,000 EV is coming in 2.5 years. Don Henley sues for return of notes. Song lyrics from Eagles' classic album Hotel California. Apple TV Plus continues to grow in the U.S., this time overtaking Paramount Plus. North Korea executed man for distributing K-pop. Report from defectors shows. Nigel Farage boycotts BBC over question time blow up. Germany asks citizenship applicants to recognize the right of the State of Israel to exist. Donald Trump crushes Joe Biden in first debate polls. Canadian military was following legal orders to try to rescue Afghan Sikhs, General Air says. 3 days ago it had been reported that Minister Sujjan instructed special forces to rescue Afghan Sikhs during fall of Kabul. Lieutenant General Jenny Kerrigan to become first woman to lead Canadian Armed Forces. Police search Thales offices in 3 countries in corruption probe. China calls on scientists of all nations to study lunar samples, but notes obstacle with the U.S., and reportedly, samples from Moon's far side thicker, stickier. Lego made bricks out of meteorite dust and they're on display at select stores. Robotic version of Indian space station by 2028, announces ISRO chief to NDTV. Washington Post comments as, Trump says immigrants are taking black jobs. Economists disagree. Albania's census shows population fell by 14% since 2011. AfD delegate bites the leg of a demonstrator, and protesters and police clash as Germany's far-right AfD begin conference. German far-right AfD party backs co-leaders amid violent clashes. 36% of Americans plan to take on debt for summer travel. Argentina's GDP drops 5.1% and unemployment climbs to 7.7%. Societies with little money are among the happiest on Earth. Ancient bronze bells, Han Dynasty frog among 14 cultural relics returned to China. Japan to issue new banknotes with historic figures that appear to rotate in 3D. Robots take up dirtiest jobs in Malaysia's palm plantations crippled by labor shortage. Sega sees net loss of 6.6 billion yen due to business restructuring in Europe and cancelled games. Google Chrome to block and trust SSL certificates starting November 2024. Cable Matters launches the world's first Thunderbolt 5 cable with enhanced performance. Microsoft's AI boss thinks it's perfectly okay to steal content if it's on the open web. Quora's chatbot platform Poe allows users to download paywalled articles on demand. Apple's privacy-focused AI gets seal of approval from investors. Canada's 2023 wildfires created 4 times more emissions than planes did last year, claims a report, as Canada's 2023 wildfires burned nearly 30,000 square miles of forest, spewed heat-trapping gas into the air. In the USA, Supreme Court halts enforcement of the EPA's plan to limit downwind pollution from power plants. FBI announces up to $5 million reward offer for information leading to arrest and/or conviction of 10 most wanted fugitive cryptoqueen Ruja Ignatova. Indonesia detains 103 Taiwanese in a raid in Bali involving suspected cybercrime. Vitalik but Aaron says crypto regulations have created anarcho-tyranny. Bloomberg comments as, boring Bitcoin sends weekend trading volume to all-time lows.
Banque de France, Hong Kong Monetary Authority explore CBDC, tokenisation.
SEC loses bid to classify BNB secondary sales as securities. U.S. judge lets most of SEC case against Binance proceed, dismisses secondary sales charge. Nigeria's cryptocurrency market surpasses $400 million, says SEC Director General. Iraqi president ratifies controversial anti-LGBTQ+ law. 3 months ago, Iraq passes harsh anti-LGBTQ+ law imposing up to 15 years in prison, drawing backlash. Latin America celebrates diversity with pride parades. In Germany, pharmacists may not refuse to sell the morning after pill. No progress in Gaza ceasefire talks with Israel, says Hamas official, and Arab League rescinds the classification of Hezbollah as a terrorist group. In Israel, ultra-Orthodox Jews block highway to protest Israel's new mandatory military service ruling. Crossbow attacker wounds a police officer guarding Israel's embassy in Serbia before being shot dead. Zelensky preparing comprehensive plan to end Russia conflict. Sri Lanka demands compensation for its killed and wounded citizens who served in the Russian army. Putin kills off nuclear forces treaty signed by Gorbachev and Reagan, as Putin calls to resume production of intermediate nuclear-capable missiles. Germany beats Denmark 2-0 to advance to Euro 2024 quarterfinals after Storm stops play. Canada advances to Copa America quarterfinals in first appearance after scoreless draw with Chile. Swiss beat Italians 2-0 to reach Euro football quarterfinals. Alarming Google study of Gen Zers claims they're spending their time mindlessly in time pass mode. Italy's Mondo TV fined $538,000 by U.S. Treasury for producing animated shows in North Korea. Chinese EV makers race to Southeast Asia for growth amid U.S. trade war. John Deere